If your emotions dictate your behavior, you will continue to stay stuck in unwanted outcomes. Today, I'm going to help you understand the role emotions have in creating your results, how to break free from your emotional blocks, and start getting wanted outcomes in your health, finances, relationships, and business. I like to think of emotions as your check engine light. Let me draw out the role emotions have in creating your outcomes. The first domino in reality creation are always your thoughts. Now, here's the thing about thoughts. You have 60,000 plus thoughts per day. You could never monitor your thoughts. But the good news is 90% of your daily thoughts are on repeat. So all you have to do is pay attention to your patterns, and you do that through emotions. So thoughts are what create our emotional state, and our emotions are what drive our behaviors, our habits. These three combined create your outcomes, your current results. Now, why are emotions the key here? Because look, emotions sit in the middle. So if you think of emotions as a check engine light, emotions are driving our behaviors, but emotions let us know what thoughts we're thinking. So if you're full of self-doubt, if you have disempowering thoughts, you're going to be living in disempowering emotional states, limited emotional states such as stress, fear, doubt, worry, lack, and most people get stuck right down here dwelling on the past. Now what happens is your thinking and feeling state, your mental and emotional state keeps you looping, getting more of the same, driving unwanted behaviors like being inconsistent, procrastinating. And anytime you procrastinate, you're just avoiding discomfort. This is what creates our vices: numbing out, scrolling, overeating, drinking, overspending, shopping, whatever your vice may be. But that's it. These three things are creating your outcomes. Now, according to Dr. Jill Bolt, a neuroscientist, emotions have a 90-second lifespan. So let's start this. This is really important. Emotions have a 90-second lifespan. So from stimulus, thought, or trigger until emotional response, what's going on internally, the chemical release, 90 seconds. That's it. But what happens for most of us is you feel the emotion come on and you're resisting it. Whatever you resist persists. So when you resist it, you're creating more and more internal resistance. Now you're telling a story, and it's the story and the resistance that keeps you spiraling for hours, days, weeks, or months on end. Think about it. If you feel stuck in frustration or impatience for something that happened weeks or months ago, the only thing that's keeping you spiraling is, number one, your thoughts, but it's unprocessed emotions. And how I like to think about this is Tetris blocks. So every time you feel triggered, think of your triggers as clues to an emotion that hasn't been processed. Remember, it only had a 90-second lifespan, but your triggers are clues. So pay attention to your triggers. Again, think of this as the check engine light. So when you're triggered, name the emotion. And I'll walk you through a simple way to process. Now, we don't need to sit in our feelings and talk about our feelings and replay the past for hours on end. No, knowing they only have a 90-second lifespan, you simply have to name it. So let's walk this through. Name the emotion when you feel triggered, because that's the first step in processing. So name it. Ooh, I feel frustration. I feel impatience. I feel doubt. I feel fear. So we want to name the emotion. Step number 2, you want to regulate. So here's what happens for most of us. We're living, looping in these emotional states, creating unwanted outcomes. And then we keep looking at our current outcomes, which keeps us looping in the unwanted. But when you're living in these emotional states, it creates a lot of internal chaos. Think of it like static and noise in a toxic internal environment. When you're in dysregulation, constantly living in stress, fear, doubt, worry, dwelling on the past, your nervous system gets stuck in fight or flight. And when you're stuck, think of those Tetris blocks compounding. So they keep stacking on one another because emotions have never been processed. And that's why you're so reactive and easily triggered. Emotions want to be named, felt, released. And when you regulate your nervous system, now the fight or flight sirens no longer are going off. And I'm walking through literally, this could be a 60-second practice. To name it, I'm feeling frustrated. To pause, take a breath, regulate your nervous system. This is just breath work. Longer exhale than the inhale. Okay, now I'm pausing so I'm not reacting and telling that story and keeping it compounding and going. So that's step 3. We're giving it this 60-second block to feel it, to process, because emotions want to be named, felt, and then step 4, released. That's it. So the biggest block keeping you stuck is a lack of mental emotional discipline, which is why you keep recreating unwanted outcomes. And what you're really seeking is that internal coherence, internal calm, so you can have clarity, so you can start taking aligned actions, which is exactly what I coach my clients through. If you want to fast track where you're at and put this into play, I invite you to apply for one-on-one coaching. You can click on the link below in the description box or visit my website, heatherhakes.com. So now understanding the role of emotions are letting us know the thoughts we're thinking. So if you're in these limited or negative emotional states, you have disempowering thoughts. But it's emotions that are driving our habits and behaviors. So the big thing here comes down to self-awareness, just becoming aware of the emotional states you're living in. Because if you don't change the emotional states you're living in, you can only keep recreating the same outcomes. So now let me walk you through what this looks like when you have mental emotional discipline getting desired results. So we've named it here that when you're living in these negative emotional states, stress, fear, doubt, worry, lack, and dwelling on the past, it's driving being inconsistent, procrastination, and numbing out on vices. So who would you have to be to get desired results in your health, finances, relationships, or business? We can draw it out. So if this is version 1, if orange equals version 1.0, who we've been. We've been emotionally reactive. We've suppressed emotions. We're in that constant fight or flight. You're either hyper vigilant or you're numb. Either way, it's simply because emotions have not been processed. Remember, they want to be named. You have to regulate your nervous system, create safety, feel it. I'm talking 60 seconds here, so you don't tell that story that'll keep you looping, and release it. Now, once that emotion is processed, now you have clarity. Now you have power of choice. It's like getting back in the driver's seat of your life. And from that new state, a new emotional state, we now have clarity. And from clear thinking, we can start feeling new emotional states. So for example, in this scenario, if you're constantly living in these emotions and these are your habits, what would the next version of you be thinking and feeling? And what would their habits and actions be in order to get desired outcomes in health, finances, relationships, or business? Draw it out. You just have to map it out. Okay, well, this doesn't feel good. So I would have to be, number 1, I already shared it with you. You have to have a regulated nervous system. You have to create the safety within, because even though this is unwanted, this has become what's familiar and what's known to your nervous system. And your nervous system's only job is to keep you safe in the familiar, even if it sucks. So in order to get out of your own way, you have to create a new familiar emotional state, and you do that through regulation. So now in a regulated state, the prime time to do this is, well, one, anytime you're triggered, but first thing in the morning. Begin your day in a regulated, calm, coherent state. Now you're thinking clearly. You now have the power to have mental, emotional stability. And guess what? That naturally drives wanted habits and behaviors, creating desired outcomes. So what does that look like? You have to have the regulated nervous system. That's the clean, strong foundation. And from there, what emotions would you want to be feeling? You would want to be in confidence. You would want to be forward focused, and this is what creates certainty. And from these new emotional states, what actions would you be taking? You would be consistent because you're no longer allowing your mood to dictate your behavior. You can feel the procrastination, you can feel the resistance, and you take action anyway. Because when you start taking new action, your behavior is being overridden, and this becomes the new 2.0, the new version of you. But you train your mind and body and create that self-trust through your action. So we're consistent, we follow through, and you either eliminate or limit your vices. You decide. I'm not here to tell you what to do, but if you know certain vices aren't serving you, eliminate or limit them. Now, from this new identity and state of being, the version of you who is regulated, who is feeling confident, who is calm, who has clarity, let me write that down, who has clarity in your forward focused, now you're in control and able to direct your emotional states and taking aligned action, because the version of you who is feeling this and is consistent, has follow through, and limits or eliminates vices is going to have completely different outcomes in all of those major life buckets. So it's not that you're stuck, you're simply blocked full of unprocessed emotions. Remember, emotions are the check engine light, and triggers are clues to where you're not free. So here's what I want you to do in your takeaway from today. The next time you feel triggered, maybe it's an email, somebody said something in traffic, a thought. When you feel triggered, that is your opportunity to process a trapped emotion, the 60-second process, name it, whatever you're feeling. Create that regulated nervous system, pause through breath work. Feel it, I'm talking 60 seconds here, and that will release it. And that emotion no longer has power and control over you, because now that you're releasing and processing these trapped emotions, you create room and capacity to hold the abundance, love, connection, and success that you seek. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What questions do you have regarding this? Drop them below in the comment box. And the most important thing for you today is to actually put this into play. Use these 4 steps the next time you feel emotionally triggered or stuck in order to free yourself to start taking aligned action and become this next version of you. Thanks for tuning in to today's video. Make sure you subscribe to my channel so you're the first to know when new videos drop. And give me a thumbs up. I'll catch you on the next one.